Hey, Quad Bros, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Glad you guys are here. Now, the Enlisted devs, Darkflow, have put out another dev blog talking about changes that they are implementing after the feedback, our feedback, your feedback, from the second test server. So, let's jump into it. First off, matchmaking. So, based on our feedback, we realized that the balance of matchmaking proved to be much more important to players than which maps they get to play. Well, yeah. Yeah, of course. That seems pretty obvious if you ask me, but hey, that's what we're here for, and that's what the iterative process of game design is all about. So they said that they're abandoning the idea of the preferred and undesired maps, and instead they're going to be using a more familiar battle rating system, which will be determined by the maximum battle rating of each weapon and vehicle in your active squads. So each of the 4 countries will be split into 2 queues. The matchmaker is going to make it to where basically we're going to have the 2 queues of battle ratings 1, 2, and 3, and battle ratings 3, 4, and 5. So if you're queuing in battle rating 3, you could be the top dog, or you could be the bottom dog, the underdog, the hot dog. I don't know where that factors in, but I am kind of hungry. Anyway, players using equipment in battle rating 3, again, will have an equal chance to get into battles with anybody and everybody. So keep that in mind if you're queuing in battle rating 3. That's going to be where you could be seeing just about anything at all. Depending on what battle rating you are is going to choose your maps as well. So Soviets with battle rating 1 and 2 will mainly be playing on Moscow and Stalingrad, while 4 and 5 on the maps of Stalingrad and Berlin. So keep that in mind. Allied players, Western allies, are going to be Tunisia and Pacific on 1 and 2, and Normandy and Pacific on 4 and 5, and then 5 will be exclusively Normandy. So if you take, it says taking at least 1 weapon or tank with battle rating 5 will completely stop you from getting Pacific maps until Japan has gear to answer that. So basically they need a select fire weapon is kind of what that ultimately comes down to. Now, the weird thing about this, by the way, here you can see Germany. Germany's going to be 1 and 2 on Moscow, Stalingrad, Tunisia, and then 4 and 5 will be Stalingrad, Berlin, and Normandy. Now, the weird thing for me is they say play mainly, right? And that makes me think, like, does that mean only? Will I only be able to play Tunisia and Pacific with early? Or will I be able to play Normandy, like, a very small amount of time? It's kind of what I'm not sure about. They say mainly. I'm guessing because Germany's is definitive, right? It says Germany with battle ratings 1 and 2 will play on Moscow, Stalingrad, and Tunisia, and not Berlin or Normandy. So I kind of feel like it's a definitive thing, and this is like a weird translation thing. They say mainly. I'm guessing that doesn't mean mainly. It means always. That's kind of my assumption. But maybe a helper can clarify that in the comments below. Should we note as well that players, as before, will play their first battles in separate queues? Sure. So, another thing to mention with this is that they say that in the future, the number of queues can increase, and each queue will include fewer battle ratings. So they're kind of like, you know, maybe they'd be like queues 1, and then queues 2 and 3, and then queues 4 and 5, right? They might increase that and increase the amount of queues and kind of compress or expand things, not compress things, expand things to have more queues to help the balance out. They might do that in the future, but I think that they're going a little bit more cautious because they want to make sure the wait times aren't too long. And they want to make sure that people are getting into full matches. So there you go. In most cases, the battle ratings of weapons and vehicles will match their position in the research tree, but not always. So basically, what they're going to be doing is they're going to be taking into account the position and the historical accuracy of the weapon. So as an example, you may unlock the MP3000 early on in the tech tree, but the MP3000 might be, like its battle rating might be high, even though it's not a very good weapon. I think that's kind of what they're getting at here, right? Like, they, I think they want to make it to where, like, weapons that were, like, last-ditch late war weapons aren't being put into, like, high tier or low tier, right? They're gonna be able to, like, specifically fine-tune where those weapons are going to be at to make them make a little bit more sense historically speaking. And then the last thing, which is something I actually disagree with quite a bit, is that some people, some forum users specifically, are upset that the automatic weapons that Stalingrad engineers can use. So if you don't know, Stalingrad engineers can use like MKBs, Fedorovs, things like that. And people were upset that they changed this. They made it to where Stalingrad engineers were just engineers. People were mad, so they're proposing a compromise. So those Stalingrad engineers are going to be able to use automatic weapons. And after the release of the major update and some events, they're going to provide the opportunity to obtain 4 event-based engineer squads, 1 for each country, that is going to have the unique feature of being able to use the assault rifles. Now, I don't really give a shit about this, to be completely honest with you guys. Like, this doesn't bug me from a balance perspective. This bugs me because, number one, it doesn't really matter that you're offering this to people that are playing right now. Like, I get why you're doing it this way because this is a compromise. The problem to me is that there will be a point where new players will not be able to get these squads. So unless you introduce some sort of like fully existing thing that, like, an achievement based thing that you unlock this squad, right? Like, unless you implement that, there's always going to be players who aren't going to have access to these squads and therefore are kind of missing out on a fairly unbalanced and unfair mechanic in the game. And on top of this, it's confusing, right? Like, we already have dozens and dozens of squads in the game. Each faction, right, for me at least, right, when I have all the squads, I have like a dozen engineer squads. Like, one of those squads or 2 of those squads with these events are going to have access to them, like to assault rifles. Like, that's just gonna be so weird. It's gonna be so strange that those squads can just like equip these weapons differently because they happen to exist beforehand. It's inconsistent with the existing rules that Enlisted has already established, and that inconsistency is just simply confusing and isn't, in my opinion, is not worth doing. Like, I'm sorry, but people out there, like, you did not buy Stalingrad Access Pass because you wanted to have, because you were like, oh man, in Stalingrad, the assault rifles, or engineers can use assault rifles. Oh my god. Like, no, don't lie to me. You bought the Stalingrad Access Pass because you wanted to have ×4 XP and you wanted to unlock things faster. Like, you didn't give a shit that happened. You might have bought it afterwards, after the merge was announced, because you wanted to abuse that. But that's just like, you didn't. That's not fair. Like, you're buying that for the specific purpose of having an advantage over other players. Like, that's, to me, that feels like you're trying to, like, pay to win, right? Like, this is essentially pay to win in my book, right? Like, that, I don't know. I don't like this. I think it kind of is shitty to players in the future. Like, yeah, players right now are going to have the option of going and getting this stuff, but to me, I'm just like, man, come on. Like, there's going to be a point where someone's going to be crying about pay to win for this, and then you can't walk it back. I think it's kind of lame that they walked this back, and I think it's lame that people were complaining about it, but I don't know. Maybe they'll walk it back twice. Kind of doubt it. But regardless, the matchmaking changes are good, and the Stalingrad engineer changes, while I disagree pretty fundamentally with them, at the end of the day, it's not really that big of a deal. So, whatever. That's it, though, guys. That's all the information. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. As always, I do love to hear it and love the comments and love the discussions that happen. So, yeah, leave a comment. And while you're there, like and subscribe as well. And I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.